coffee now. So, it's the Gary and Rose Breakfast Show. We'll probably have to cut out the coffee drinking silence.
Well, that's the way it goes.
So you say you saw 2 doves out on the bird feeder?
Right.
Or the bird bath. They're so cute.
As hot as it is, they're going to be flocking to cool off in that bird bath. Every day I think more and more birds find it.
I was thinking I'd like to just put a webcam on that bird bath. They're so cute when they splash around in the water. We can just meditate while we wait for another bird to entertain us.
A lot of birds because there's a lot of grasshoppers. Earlier this year there was tons of grasshoppers. Does anybody ever have a thread talk about your dreams? Seems like that would be one of the interesting thread.
That's a good idea. I think perhaps at some time, but there may not be a dedicated thread for that. Although the serendipitous synergies might cover it, but
no, that's more reality based.
Yeah,
Dreams are more.
That's more of the results from entanglement. Well, maybe you should join and start a thread on dreams.
Now, if I had some software, I might do it.
You don't have to write software.
No, I don't. I need the software where you just spoke and then it wrote.
Yeah.
You spoke the word and then it wrote. You'd say, computer, go to Agora. Start me a thread. All that's done for me. All that was done for me, then I could concentrate on what I was trying to say instead of...
I think you're going to have to talk louder from the other side of the room if the uses.
If all that was done for me, then I could concentrate on what I was trying to say instead of concentrating on how to get there.
Well,
which is impossible for me.
If it's something good, I'll transcribe it for you.
Yeah. Well, it's relative. Some people think some things are good, and some people think some things aren't. So, just like I think it was just outrageous when we were at the reunion there that I remembered a certain job one way, Dave remembered dropping the mic stand up. I remembered it being a high point, it being so much fun because I got to stand up and sing playing with fire. Because usually I was sitting down the ground, I got to stand up and see the crowd. I remembered that part of the job, which was, that job was 40 years ago, easy. And Dave remembers it because he dropped the mic stand on his foot. And John remembers it because somebody was trying to beat him up. So that's the perfect example, a glowing example of three different people, three completely different remembrances of it.
Everyone just living their own experience.
Exactly.
Someone was going to beat John up.
And it kind of hurt my feelings too when they didn't have a good experience. Neither of their experiences were good at all. I kind of went, God.
Dave's toe was gushing blood.
Please. I didn't want to say that this morning.
I'm sorry. It was vivid the way he described it.
It's a perfect example of, and it's probably everybody, every single person in that room, half of them probably remember that night, and they're out of the hundreds of people that were stuffed into that place. It was packed into the team club there.
Yeah, it seemed like out of
Everybody had a different
all the
experience.
experiences, they were really just 2 or 3 that were so memorable that everyone just remembered them as being a high point experience.
I was asking if they remembered when we played out that shopping center. And I remember us walking around the shopping center, and we had on our Beetle boots and our Dickies. I didn't even mention that to them. We used to wear these things that looked like turtlenecks underneath our shirts, but they were just
faux.
Yeah, they were faux. They didn't go up all the way down. It was just a thing that fit around your neck. And why they call them Dickies, I have no idea. But I remember, and John remembered the black girls calling out soul finger and giving him the finger. If you would have asked me what soul finger was, I wouldn't have. I don't remember that at all. But John remembered that was his take on that job. I remember walking around with my Beetle boots, being on the great big back of the truck.
Beetle boots, huh?
Oh, yeah. Beetle boots. Real sign of the times. Your footwear.
Oh,
Or,
there's a bird.
yeah, that's a mockingbird.
That's a big mockingbird.
Yeah, they're quite big. They're good-sized birds. There's a bunch of birds flying around out there right now.
Around. Huge compared to the other one that was here.
There's a lot of different varieties of birds out there. Just Canadian geese and every kind of water bird out there. There's a woodpecker lives in that big oak tree right out there. I see him all the time. Mockingbirds, doves, all kinds of small birds, blue jays. It's probably the first bath he's had in quite a while, as hot as it is out there. I think when they're wet, it really impedes their ability to fly, so they don't take baths very often, and when they do, they hurry and dry off, so they're afraid that they're vulnerable at that time.
No, I'm not seeing anything.
You're not seeing any recording?
Well, you're not talking.
1, 2, test 1, 2.
Okay, yeah, I don't think you may not be talking loud enough. You're way over there and you're just kind of mumbling.
That's what colors cardinals are on the shore.
Looks like it's just staring at its reflection in the water.
That's right. They're very territorial. Cardinals are. And you may have to fix our coffee maker again. What'd you do to it? What did you do to it that made it work? Push that thing down farther? Push the tube down farther?
I took the tube out and
put it back in?
And I tried to clean.
Thing that I would start a thread also.
You're starting to get interested in that point.
Well, I'm just saying that it also would be a thing like a thread that we used to have. We used to have parties where you bring your own records.
There is a music thread.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest threads there. It's just been going on from day one.
Yeah.
Oh, but you mean talk about them? Well, there's not that many people on at one time now, really.
I would suggest like the old songs. It's like listen to that 8-track tape. I only have 3 8-track tapes. One of them is that Kinks, and it's incredible how good they were, and
the Kinks were great.
And how
they're still.
I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of those songs people took the ideas and changed them up slightly. Well, I only listened to one track because the 8-track wouldn't switch. A lot of the songs, people took that same idea and almost lifted the music too. But they took that idea and made another song about it.
Yes, people do that a lot out here.
It's amazing how many songs on there, when you listen to it, which I'm not familiar with any of those songs. They're just songs that the Kinks, somebody that knows the Kinks might be, but I only was familiar with their hits and maybe one album that they had that had the hits on it. But I've never heard that album.
You have to remember that the majority of people are of a completely different generation, and they're not all that interested in vintage tunes.
Well, they will someday. So.
Well, you're not all that interested in the music that they're interested in.
No.
I don't even think you know what it is. So,
no, I don't.
So it's.
But someday it'll be vintage and they'll be interested in it.
Oh yeah.
Everybody will.
Oh, there's a female cardinal.
Snoop Daddy will be on the oldies station.
Of course, but
I
it
don't
doesn't
know who
matter
Snoop
at
Daddy
the
is.
time.
What'd you say?
That doesn't matter at the time.
Yes,
It
does.
sounds all homogenized to me, but
It does. Yes, it does.
But I understand some
There's
of
no
it.
such thing as time.
To me, most of it without the video would be. I'm not gonna go.
I'll bet in the morning there's a waiting line out there that when it's cool in the morning, the birds are more active than they are from the...
It's embracing technology, and I get that. In this time reference, I get that. Embracing the ability to artificially correct things. Code is the new poetry, so
Yeah.
it's definitely an expression.
When I was talking to Mike, he said he listens to the sports stations.
Oh, really?
Freaked me out. So I listen to the sports stations sometimes just to have the chatter. Well, I understand that.
It grates on my nerves, but
yeah, that's why you said the other day that you just don't understand Mike, and I don't think there's not very many people that do.
on a certain level, I understand him.
Right.
Find it interesting that he said, I remember, I think it was on the way to that job, whatever it was, where that big group picture was taken. And I remember him saying, these are the best days of our lives. You know, he was really going into, it's never going to be better than this. And then he after all these years, he says, you know, those were the best days of my life.
He was right.
Yeah.
In a way, he was
not
right.
Really. I don't really see it as that. It's been.
It was the
It's
best
been
of
a flow.
times. It was the worst of times. That's what people say. Sometimes when I'm driving a Cadillac, that's my standard. I say, well, what year was that? I said, 1970. I say, oh, those were great times. I always come back. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah.
Tale of two cities.
I wouldn't choose to relive it personally. Oh, why?
Not if I had to live make the same mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, it was the mistakes that made it what it was.
Well, there's a good thread.
Are you getting more coffee?
I'm trying to get this damn coffee maker to make more coffee. It's just dripping, one drip at a time. There's a good thread. Talk about your mistakes.
Yeah.
Talk about mistakes.
Consequences, intended or not.
Well,
Obviously, some mistakes are good.
In the post, the mistakes are the most empowering thing that can possibly happen. without all of those missteps, it was like a dance. Every misstep propels in a different direction, and, well, keeps things from being boring anyway.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what the thread would be about, not your judging mistakes being bad or good. That's then you get to talk about your mistakes, but
Yes.
it wouldn't be prejudged like a mistake is where you tore your jeans or something like that. That's a mistake where there are consequences that you didn't see.
You mean dyeing your hair blonde or something
Right.
like that?
Right. You learn not to dye your hair
Yeah,
blonde.
you learn not to dye your hair blonde.
Blondes really don't have more fun. It's just worrying about your hair all the time. You're worried about your roots all the time instead of having fun.
Is that a heron or yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's
Behind that branch, kind of blending in.
several white ones.
I looked out there, and there's about 8 of them, and they were just all lined up on that branch of the water. The tank's pretty clear today. The pond. I guess a pond. Pond is a nicer word than tank. You know, you were in actually at the locales of some pretty monumental times, being there at the airport on the day Kennedy was assassinated, and being in Memphis when Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Yep.
That's 2